Disclaimer. This video and all its contents are Ngozi's opinion and that of some people who contributed. We're all entitled to our opinions, so enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again. Chude, say hi.
Hi.
I don't know why you're laughing.
I know, I just felt like to laugh.
My name is Ngozi and welcome to another episode of the Ngee Show. Today, Chude and I are discussing something about the youth. You will understand why in a second. All right, so Chude is I think he's poised to discuss this episode with me because he's passionate about the youth of Nigeria. He wrote a book and it's everywhere. It's on Amazon. You can download it off of Amazon Kindle. It's on Konga. It's in any bookstore. If you're a reader, you would know this. If you're not a reader, quite frankly, you should be. Yeah, people need to read more. But and the name of the book is called Are We the Turning Point Generation? Yes, I felt the same way after I heard the title of the book. I think it's such a powerful title.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Anyway, so there's a chapter in this book called We Have to Kill God. I'm a Christian. You know I don't want to kill God. It's actually almost like blasphemy when you hear it first. But tell me what this We Have to Kill God part is about first, because we'll get to why.
Like I was saying to you earlier, there's a particular kind of God, you know, for the Nigerian man who's cheating on his wife, who, you know, so the girlfriend calls him and says, so are we going to meet at Obudu, you know, this weekend? And he says, yes, by God's grace.
What is that?
by God's grace, I shall cheat on you this week, with my wife with you this weekend, you know. And that God I don't know, that God is a problem.
We have to kill the Nigerian God.
Yeah.
Nobody's more religious than us.
Yeah.
I've talked about this thing before, where you ask someone, good morning, how now we bless God? Or, I need that report tomorrow morning. You need to make sure you deliver it to me tomorrow. By God's grace. God willing.
If rapture doesn't happen.
I'm thinking, how about you get it done and then let's see what happens. Do it first and let's decide. So we want to talk about the youth of Nigeria because, you see, I come from a completely different thought process than Chude because Chude has hope. He believes that there is hope. I am of the opinion, I'm like, I don't know where we are headed. But Chude challenged me and said, no, Ngozi, there's every generation has it. Because I see today's youth, and I think when we were growing up, so when I was a teenager, 13, 14, I went to school with, I think, some wealthy kids and some not so wealthy kids. And their wealth wasn't in my face. I didn't feel oppressed by excessive wealth. But I think that today, it's a completely different story. So I'm worried about this generation. Whether you feel like
welcome once again.
I shouldn't worry.
I'm not worried. You know, so because it's history, like I was telling you before, that every generation there's a new normal. You know, where the things
There's a new normal. It just sounds like the name of a movie.
There's a new normal.
Starring Chude Jideonwo, the new normal. Sorry, so there's a new normal.
Yeah, where people complain about people who have grown up complain about what used to happen in the past and compare to what they have now and say now is worse. It has happened in every generation. You know, when we were growing up, wearing trousers was seen as the biggest, deepest example of moral corruption for a girl, you know. You can remember, you know, and some parents just couldn't understand how a girl could wear trousers, you know, how a boy could.
And for us then, as young people, we didn't understand what they were talking about.
Just what they were talking about,
okay,
you know.
Okay,
so,
fair
and then
enough.
It became the new normal. It wasn't intrinsically a problem with our morals. It was just the way that we were. Now, of course, what happens is that usually the people who do these things first, it's like hip-hop and any other culture, are usually the people who push boundaries, are usually the people who are troublesome, you know, who have no boundaries, usually.
And that is this jet age.
Yeah, so they help to push. Then the rest of us follow, then we normalize it.
A new normal.
You know, that's, I mean, that's how.
I hope you've learned something today.
I know this is the example of people abuse Davido and say, oh, Whiskey, oh, they're singing about Bom Bom, singing about this. What was Shina Peter singing about?
No, excuse me. What is it? Afro-Juju,
No,
for
sure.
Yeah, shake something.
There was every body part inside.
Roll, yes.
What kinds of things? The only difference is that we are singing it earlier now. Because it doesn't have to be like 30.
But what? I don't know his age, but that.
But he's like 60 now, so he was
old though.
Yeah, he was old.
Child, he was
old.
But
Whiskey is what, 20?
Like 12.
19. But then again, differently, to run a business like Facebook at that time, you had to be like 40, 50. So, so it's just that things that...
No, but I just feel, what, in your opinion, what do you think would be their biggest challenge? I don't know what our biggest challenge was, but today, what would you think is their biggest challenge that they will need to overcome?
Well, it's going to be one big English after another word.
Please.
But I think inequality is the biggest issue.
Wow.
Because inequality, so you were talking about when you were in school, people who were wealthier didn't oppress you. Now,
really? I don't...
Yes, now it's a big problem because the inequality gap has widened. So the rich have gotten richer, the poor have gotten poorer. And so there is no, the middle class has basically disappeared. And not just here, even in America, there's complaints about the middle class diminishing.
Is it?
So the buffer that the poor child had, because the poor child could relate to the middle class child a bit, so that the middle class child can relate to the rich child, then all of us are child children. Yes. But now, now it's the difference is so stark that it's easier to oppress.
Yes.
So and then we have tools that make it easier for that inequality to be emphasized. Social media, Instagram,
flying
music,
upper class.
all of that. Exactly. Now then you have 2-3 classes. Now you have like 4: premium, economy, premium,
club, class, worlds.
So everything is just determined to show you where your place is. That's how the world has evolved. Even on Instagram, the number of likes you get on a photo
says how
is supposed to
you
let you know where your place is in the hierarchy. The number of followers you have, the number of likes you have on your page.
Inequality.
It's inequality.
Okay, but then see, when I say the youth, we're talking. I saw a video recently where somebody went to a university and was asking young ladies, how many boyfriends should a girl have? So now I'm going into the culture of it. How many boyfriends should the girl have? And for all of them, it was like, at least 3. One to buy me a recharge card. And they were not playing. They were not joking. It was not a spoof. It was not candid camera. They were serious. 3 at least. Want to buy me this, want to buy me that. And I'm thinking, when we were young, and maybe they were Ron's girls, but now, today, it is like the new normal.
Yeah, exactly.
And so my fear, again, going back to what you were saying, is what happens to this generation in 15 years. That's my big... I fear for the youth in Nigeria.
Well, I don't fear that much because I think that it will normalize. Now, why I think so is because look back, did we do worse than our parents? And did our parents do worse than their parents before them? Because they say, for instance, they say Nigeria is getting bad. Nigeria didn't start getting bad. Nigeria began to get bad from the moment they handed the country over to Azikiwe. So yes, there was already the corruption. If you watch Half of a Yellow Sun, for instance, the corruption began from immediately we were handed over the country. Corruption began, bribery, using connections for offices, bad governance. So it's not because we came in and we're worse than those before us. We're just continuing a cycle of bad. So
record what you just heard. You will need it.
So that's what it is. So I don't fear. I fear to the extent that the next generation will continue the cycle. Not that the next generation will have its own peculiar badness.
But what about education? What about education?
So it is that same. Like if today we have a good government that rejuvenates, re-energizes the education system, changes, from pedagogy to equipment, we will say remarkable change. Like what I'm about is that there is nothing intrinsically in the generation that makes it bad. It is what it confronts. So we don't need to
do this episode now?
No, we need to, because the question now comes into the thing that makes generation bad is out of its control. So the pressure is to put pressure on those who have control over those things to make them better. Which is, I always say, for example, people say the education system is bad.
Yes.
There's nothing the child could have done. He met this education system. Like, what did you expect him?
Yes. So you graduate from pretty much not learning anything. And then you can't get a job because, quite frankly, you're not qualified. You come into an interview and I'm looking at you like, what did you say you were about to do? No, it's not. Sorry.
Like you are doing interviews, you're just depressed. Interviews for me are a state of depression. Job interviews.
Yes.
You know? Like I was talking about.
You are the interviewer.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm talking like now you can't like if you get half of a qualified person, you are like the left side is qualified, the right side is not. Just be grateful. Go ahead.
But what you're saying is that it's not their fault.
It's not their fault. Like so they can do something about it.
Okay.
But it's not their fault. So for instance, let me give an instance. I don't credit Nigerian education system for my education. I credit my mother and my father for my education, which means that I was lucky one to have two parents who were educated up to university level. I had a mother who was an English teacher, so my English had to be solid. I grew up in an atmosphere of books.
Yes.
I was reading, I read Interpreters by Revelation in Things Fall Apart before I was 10.
Yes.
Oh,
stop. So we read. It's
But
possible that I don't know what they're reading today, but we had Things Fall Apart. We had The Gods Are Not to Blame.
Where did you have them? In the house?
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Okay, wait, okay. In school. No, I read them.
What school?
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
I went to Vivian Fowler
Exactly.
Secondary School, but
yeah. That's the thing. Like some of these people literally are born into rots. You know, so I mean, if my parents were not educated and they were not rich, they were not even middle class, they were like lower middle class, just near. You know,
he said lower middle, just near.
You know, so my parents are not wealthy, but they were educated. Luckily enough for me, and so I had books. If I had not had, if I hadn't had educated and exposed parents, I would have ended up like any other young person with a bad education. Like I was literally just lucky.
Yes. Even I realized that was abrupt, but 19 minutes, which is the actual length of this episode, is entirely too long. So don't go anywhere. The continuation of this episode will be posted very shortly.